My name is David Floodstrand, and I'm a resident of Skokie. As a matter of fact, I live right up the block at the end of the block with my two children. This is a story not only of how we ended up in Skokie, but also my relationship with the Skokie Theater. When I was a teen, we lived in Evanston, and I had many friends that resided in Skokie. And I was aware of the Skokie Theater even then. We would pass by occasionally, although I never went in to see a film. I dug the architecture and would admire it from afar in a car, passing in the night, the neon light beckoning all to come in for the warm light and wonderful films that they had. Many years passed, and I lived many places in different lives. The Skokie Theater and the town becoming a pale memory in the distant past. Fast forward to 2010, and fate brings me back to Skokie. I had been living in Florida, a wasteland in dire need of the arts and a cultural swamp. Its one saving grace was that I found the love of my life, and we had two beautiful children together. For reasons I'd rather not go into in this story, I ended up staying with my sainted mother for a short time, sleeping on the floor in her basement, and my children following shortly thereafter. My mother had sold the house in Evanston and downsized to a smaller house in Skokie. So my objective was to regroup in Skokie and get a house or an apartment, and my wife would follow. I had been here a month and secured employment as a bartender and waited tables at night. So I put a plan together to re-enter the entertainment arena here in the Chicago area, and my children entered the picture. At first, everything was idyllic, but I was looking for a place to move into, and I walked by the Skokie Theater one day, and I was intrigued by the posters outside and the announcements of coming performers and shows on the marquee above. And it was like a scene from a film, the sad man looking through the window to the place he's longing to be on the inside. I made a wish that day, and that one day my name would be on that marquee, and I would be inside on that stage. Returning to the home front, I became quite increasingly aware that my mother, now in her early 80s, was getting more annoyed with my children as the days passed. Things were becoming more intense and her patience thin. And one day she turned to me and she said, "I want you gone. I want you gone. I want you and your children gone." And she said she wanted her life back. Yeah. I explained I needed a little bit more time to get enough for an apartment and a security deposit, and after all, I had only been there about a month and a half, and I was working towards my goals. The next day, as I was helping my daughter tie her shoes in the basement, something 5-year-olds often have a hard time struggling with even at that age, I heard some sound of footsteps coming down the stairs. It was 2 police officers with their guns drawn. My daughter was terrified. And they said that my mother had called 911, and she said there was a man in her basement who wouldn't leave. After they found out I was actually her son, they explained to her that she needed to file papers with the court to facilitate my removal. This was quite embarrassing and humiliating to say the least. And fortunately, my wife arrived the next week, and she got a job almost immediately, within a week. And we worked together to get a place as soon as we could, within weeks. And things were looking up. Yeah, things were looking up. And we found a place in the area. And shortly after we moved in, my wife said that she still had some stuff in Florida that she wanted to get. And I remember standing in the kitchen, and I said, I pleaded with her, and I said, honey, anything that we need, we can get here. You know, you don't have to go back to Florida to get it. You know, we can, whatever we want. We'll just get new stuff, you know? But she insisted that she go back to. I pleaded with her. I knew something was wrong. And so anyway, the bad feeling. I said it's just stuff. So I watched her get into a car the next day, and she disappeared into the night. That was the last time I ever saw her. 5 days later, the police knocked on my door and told me that she died in Florida the day before. The hardest thing I've ever had to do was sit my children down on the floor, hold hands, and say, Mommy's never coming home again. Hardest thing I had to do, ever. That was 10 years ago, and we're still in that little apartment. The schools are good, and there's a bit of an umbrella that this town like Skokie has that protects kids from the hard realities of the big city. I figured they'd been through enough, you know, so we stayed put. And finally I saw my name. Finally saw my name on that marquee of the Skokie Theater after 10 years. And a poster in their window. Proof that dreams can come true, even if you think there's no hope. To me, the Skokie Theater continues to be a shining beacon, you know, some hope in the night, and it warms my heart.